Welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mr. Darling, and this is Machine God Eats. I was intending on making this video outside, but it's super hot out there, and I said, F all of that. We're living in late stage capitalism, and I kind of wanted to talk about who in this particular time period I feel are the most classist people, meaning the people that judge people for not having the most are not necessarily rich people. It's not rich people that usually are looking down their noses directly and making videos about how the poor is the poorest. In fact, a lot of rich people want to be so relatable that they act like they come from hardship. I saw some director, what's his name, J.J. Abrams' daughter, she's making an album and she's talking about the hardships of growing up a Nepo baby, growing up with millions of dollars and how everybody just perceives her a certain way.
Wow, wow, wow.
Even rich people want the perception of them having some struggle. The people who are the most classist people towards the population are other poor people. The people that are coming up in this struggle, the people that are having to clock in every fucking day, work 8 hours, 40 hours a week, sometimes 45, 50 hours a week just in order to maintain a livable wage and a livable lifestyle, are the same people that look down each other's noses for not having a certain type of bag or not wearing a certain type of shoe, or not being able to go on trips, or not being able to live in these lavish, expensive places. The same people that are going through the same struggle that you're going through will judge you if your struggle is just a little bit harsher than theirs. I made a video the other day and YouTube age-gated it because it was crass, but I was telling the truth. I was talking about how there are men and women out here literally selling themselves, okay? Literally selling themselves to old men. I'm saying men and women, as y'all can see, selling themselves to old folks and to rich folks in order to pay the bills. Doing something strange for a piece of change just to get their lights turned back on.
I haven't had sex in 2 years. Now I gotta give some of this coochie up to get my lights back on. To try to get my lights back on. I had to give some of my coochie up to get my lights back on.
And when I made the video, I was like, all right, yeah, I was like, obviously outside it was hot, I was working out, and I was just being loose with my lips, talking about just in detail how people are willing to sell parts of their body and all this other stuff. And I was talking about, from my perspective, how I could be judgmental towards that. And I can be, because I feel like there are people that get on here, a lot of women get on here and promote prostitution in a way. And it's sometimes in a roundabout way, sometimes in a direct way, without talking about the consequences. And that's why sometimes I'll get on here and talk about the consequences of, trying to sell yourself. But I understand, for the most part, why so many people are trying to sell parts of themselves or sell things, or trying to find a way to monetize every part of their life in order just to make some money. And I just feel like when you're telling people to monetize their bodies off of sex, and this was the point of that video, what you're not telling them is how it can desensitize them to something that is supposed to be pleasure and supposed to be one of the best parts of life. When you turn something into a job, when everything becomes a job, it becomes not fun. That's why for the longest time, I was thinking about how to monetize playing video games. I couldn't play video games because I'm constantly thinking about, well, how can I make a video about this? And how can I turn this into a stream? And it's not fun, right? But for poor people, and I noticed this at a very young age, okay? When my parents got a divorce, we moved to Milwaukee. I've said this many times, okay? We moved to Milwaukee from Gary, Indiana. We moved to Milwaukee, lived in with my auntie. And for the first time in my life, we were truly fucking poor, at least from what I can perceive. Or at least when we were in Gary, for the most part, before my parents split, we didn't experience this type of poverty. But once, my mom decided to get out on her own, of course, she had to build herself from the ground up. And we experienced some poverty. So we ended up going to the school on the north side of town. It was called Hopkins. It was the first time I ever saw kids make fun of other kids for what they were wearing. Because even in Gary at the time, that wasn't like a thing. It wasn't like, oh, if you had on a good pair of shoes or some Jordans, of course people were noticing, But when you actually went to this big city and you were in a school, and let's say you were wearing, we used to have a store here in America called Payless Shoes. And that's where you would go get some cheap shoes that were usually imitations or knockoffs of what the popular shoe was at the time. And of course, that's what my mom could afford. So she would take us to Payless. You get some Payless shoes. And without me knowing, what you wanted to do is you wanted to get a shoe that didn't look like something else. But I didn't know this. I just wanted to get a cool looking shoe. Got some, I think it was some Patrick Ewings, right? Patrick Ewings or some Hattrick pewings or whatever. And I put those motherfuckers on and I went to school proud with this. This is an all black school, okay? These kids clowned the shit out of me. And anybody that had PlayStation, Payless shoes got clowned, okay? So you wanted to avoid wearing Payless. I didn't want to wear those shoes back. I'd rather wear my beat up fucking old shoes that I brought with me from Indiana than the nice pair of Payless shoes that my mom bought me, because the other kids, black kids, made fun of you for the brand that you were wearing. But one of the things that struck me is that I knew in this particular neighborhood, it was the hood, and most of these kids were under the same economic conditions that everybody else was. A lot of people that went to that school were on SNAP or food stamps. A lot of people had AFDC, which was getting money from the state. A lot of people were going through the same similar struggle, but yet we're judging each other as kids. This is fucking third, fourth grade, judging each other for going to having an off brand. And then I got the direct comparison where my mom obviously started to get some upward mobility as she got better jobs, as we ended up out of an abusive situation with her boyfriend at the time. We ended up on a better side of town, and we ended up going to a predominantly white school in a better part of town. And even though we were still fucking poor, we still we're wearing kind of some not the best type of clothes and all that, at least from my perspective. We didn't get judged like you never saw nobody making fun of nobody for wearing Payless shoes. Now my mom started working at the hospital, we started getting name brand stuff, and I still hate the fact that I left those green King Griffey Juniors in that locker at that school, at the school we went to, the mixed school, before we came out to California. But at that time, before we started even getting name brand stuff, we wasn't getting made fun of by those kids at that school. Not the black kids, not the white kids, because they didn't see that. And even though they wore name brand stuff, it was a lot more subdued than how it was in the hood, where a lot of things were a lot more flamboyant, a lot more colorful, a lot more, everybody was just wearing like basic stuff. Hell, shit. They probably were wearing the same thing every day, but since it was so subdued, you would never fucking know. You understand? But the thing that I took away from that was that they were not tearing each other down in this upper middle class area like the poor kids when I went to the fucking poor schools. It wasn't the same. And then it goes to now. You hop online, you see everybody talking about each other, what each other don't have, or what this person don't have, or what this person needs to get, and all of this other crap, right? And you look at what they have, or you go to their page and they broke, or they have made GoFundMe's within the last month trying to catch up on a bill or something, right? No shade. We all fucking fall behind. I fall behind constantly, okay? Trust me, especially in these months, it is slow where I work, on the side of town I work. It is slow for our restaurant. So yeah, I get it. But I'm not going to get on here and judge a motherfucker for being poor when I'm fucking poor myself. Oh, you don't have this name brand, or you don't have this, or you don't have that. Even in the toy collecting community, people are judged for certain brands, and all the brand names mean shit. Sometimes some of the best quality comes from stuff that ain't got the popularity of an established brand. Sometimes something that is more of a higher quality when it's not established, because there's a lot more work in it, because they're trying to get it established. You understand? And people were like, okay. And I see this with women a lot when they talk about, oh, you never got this type of bag, or I never seen you with this on, or you don't wear Chanel, or you never go to. Why are y'all saying all these people's names? And especially for the black women that talk about all these fucking name brands, Chanel and this and none of that product, all those other. You ain't wearing this, you ain't wearing the Gucci. None of these fucking Italians like y'all bitches, bro. They don't even like niggas like that. So why the fuck are y'all got all their names all over yourself? And you know what? One of the biggest flexes, I think it was what's his name? LeVar Ball told his boys, his basketball sons, wear clothes with y'all own name on it. That's a flex. Fucking A, I'll hella put my signature Jeremy Darling on something and put that shit on a goddamn shirt that I designed or something. I mean, it would just probably be a tank top, but these are like my favorite types of shirts, obviously. And that would be more for me than wearing somebody, Tommy Hilfigers, who I don't like niggas. You know what I'm saying? Like that type of, I don't know if he's saying, I'm just saying, guys, relax. But I just feel like judging each other because you don't wear somebody else's name on you is the most lowbrow, stupid shit a person can do, yet people are conditioned to do that. From a fucking young age, they're conditioned. Oh, look at my baby got on Jordans. My baby is wearing baby fat. My baby is wearing this. That shit's stupid. And then they grow up with this mentality that these name brands mean something, and then they judge each other harshly for not being able to measure up to these fucking so-called lofty standards. When I see anybody say that they spent fucking anything over double digits on a shirt, you sound stupid to me. Oh, this is a $50. This is a $200 or a $300 dress shirt, or this is a $600 Chanel dress. Like what? Like what the fuck does the dress do? Does it come with Wi-Fi? Does it come with some type of technology? Does it come with at least a fucking a sensor to check your blood pressure or something? You just paying $600 on some fabric that you could probably wear once, and after you wear it, you probably gonna stretch it all out and all. I'm not trying to say people are overweight, because I know people be thinking I'm just getting on fat people. I love fat people, okay? I don't like fat niggas. Niggas, y'all ain't got no breed. I'm sorry, but a lot of men that I don't have sympathy for men that are fat, bro. Unless you have like a disability, you a nigga, bro. You got our metabolism for the most part is a lot higher than women. So, and I'm personally attracted to heavier set women too. I don't know why I'm going on this, but I'm just saying, because people have made some comments recently like, no, bro, like I like thicker women, you know. But fat niggas, I'll call you a fat nigga, bro. I'm like,
shut your fat ass up. I don't want to hear what you got to say.
I be sometimes getting mad. See, there I am judging. I be judging. Like I don't be want to hear advice from a nigga that I'm looking at and I feel like he got portion control issues. And there's a lot of poor people looking at each other like everybody got pocket control issues, when sometimes it literally is just late stage capitalism crashing down on everybody, and everybody's just struggling to keep up. But yeah, we still judging each other. Oh, I saw that you don't have food in your refrigerator. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, well, if you see that person don't have food in the refrigerator and you know they got kids, help them get food in the refrigerator. If you have the ability to stock your shit up, then maybe you have the ability to help your fucking neighbor, or even better yet, your family member, when you see that your family member struggling like that. When you see that, instead of getting on here and judging or hopping on the horn and judging family, help them out, help them fill their shit up so everybody feel good. You know what I'm saying? That's how you work towards a better world, but ain't nobody trying to do that. Poor people judge poor people, crabs in the barrel mentality, pull each other fucking down, right? And this even goes into dating, right? So you see a lot of squares like myself, right? You're gonna work a regular job, right? And what that's gonna do is, it's probably because of the way the system is designed, if you want to just work a regular job, you're gonna have a probably pretty regular life unless you're trying to do something outside of it. Obviously, I'm trying to do stuff outside of my regular job. But I'm saying, let's just say I wasn't trying to do nothing outside my regular job. My standard is here. My standard of living is, let's say this is the standard. This is the standard. My standard is just down here, right? You know what I mean? Like, I'm able to, you know, occasionally buy some action figures and shit, but my standard is down here, right? And if I wanted to elevate in any way up to here, I have, like I said, I have to do something on the side to bring myself up here. But if I don't, right? If I don't do nothing that's on board to bring myself up there, I'm probably gonna have to do something that's off board. I'm probably gonna have to do some bullshit, some crimes, right? Because that's how a lot of niggas in the hood, or from the hood, from where I come up. You get, you know, you flip something, or you turn, you know, you take this money and you invest it into something, you know, lucrative, you know, usually some substances that's lucrative, and then you go out there and you flip that and you turn whatever you invested into them substances into some money, right? Like, it is what it is, right? A lot of and sometimes people get caught up in that trap. That's why they call it the trap. And it's hard to get out of that, and it's a perpetual cycle, and then eventually the law comes down on you, or you get set up, all this other crap, right? But those niggas live a fast lifestyle, and that lifestyle, at least amongst my community, is very coveted. You know, you can call them YNs, you can call them hood niggas, but them niggas get it the most. You know what I'm saying? And even if you are, you know, some people can read through if you a hood nigga, a real hood nigga or not. Because there's hood niggas and there's hood niggas, right? I consider myself from the hood. I'm not a hood nigga. I'm not going to be out here trying to risk my freedom to make money so I can impress a community of people who I can't fucking stand, right? And I'm not talking about the black community. I'm talking about niggas. I'm talking about any nigga that will pull a gun on another black man, any woman that would get online and promote prostitution to the younger generation of women. I don't fuck them people, right? But these people get on here and promote a lifestyle that is like, look, this is how you get the money. If you're not trying to do this, you're not a hustler. You're not a real man.
Niggas get mad when they hear that bitches like hood niggas, right? Want to talk about what about the good guys? But y'all never ask why. Why? Why do we like the hood niggas? We like the hood niggas, right? Because they're fucking fun. Like, short, simple, and sweet. Ain't no other way to put it. They're fucking fun. They're fun as fuck. The best experience of your life will come from a hood nigga. Well, one with money, all right? Not the broke ones.
And then y'all ask the wrong questions, and she's right. Like, well, hood niggas are more fun, but hood niggas, you know, it's high risk, and in this day, sometimes I would honestly say low reward, because for the most of the men that she's talking about, these hood niggas They ain't making no money. The niggas that she's dealt with in her life ain't making her money. They ain't never put her in a position to where she can invest in herself and get out of the economic situation that she's in. She looks to hood niggas for cheap dopamine hit, some dick, and some quick fucking money. And then once it's all gone, she gonna feel used up and say that niggas ain't shit. This is the cycle. This is the cycle, right? It's a perpetual cycle of poverty and idiocy. And you get on there and promote that shit, and she's not the only one, but that's like one of the videos that stood out the most to me. Oh, like, why y'all wonder why we like hood niggas? We don't wonder. I know exactly why. But it doesn't help you in the long run, and then y'all get on here and say that niggas ain't this. Of course, a hood nigga ain't gonna be that, because he's constantly trying to chase his money, constantly trying to live above a board and above a reproach that he is not yet, like, you know, physically earned within this system, because this system ain't fair either. The system is, even the fair parts, you going, I work, like I say, all week, every week, right? And what is it? You know, it keeps a roof over my head, but at the same time, it's a meat grinder too. It's just in a different way. It's a slower grind. You know what I'm saying? You can live 30 years for adventure, or you can live 100 years mundanely. Which one is a better life? That's up to you. That's the decision you have to make. That's the fork of the road that most men have to, you know, go down. But unfortunately, when you're poor, when you are living in poverty, you know what I'm saying, the people around you are not going to think to get together and combine minds to come up out of poverty together. Sometimes people do, right? Sometimes you have family units, and you have people that literally put their shit and pull their resources together to become something else. I think I brought that up about artistry, how some people, you know, like you have different rap cliques, or you'll have different rock bands that come from the same area, come together, bring their talents together, and come up out of that, right? You do have those instances a lot, right? But most of the time, poverty is a generational thing that keep people poor. And the reason that it keeps people poor is because it's a crab in a barrel mentality. Is when you start to pull yourself out, somebody gonna be hating to pull you back down with them. That's why if you don't think a certain way and you're not like one of them hood niggas, you're not a real nigga in the community. If you don't think like the hive mind, or the what is it called, the zeitgeist or whatever, you are othered. And so it is very hard for you to come within the group to build out of the group. Or if you have something to say that may improve the group, however, it makes the group uncomfortable. And I'm talking about within poverty, they don't want to listen. Once again, you will be othered. They're going to tell you why you're wrong because of X, Y, and Z, as opposed to listening and trying to change that position. Poor people hate each other more. Poor people hate other poor people more than rich people hate poor people, and you can't convince me otherwise. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys are having a great weekend. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave some feedback in the comments. Tell me how you feel about, you know, this almost like this class system under the class system, right? You have the class system, the elite, you know, the upper class rich people, upper middle class, and then you have the worker bees. But within the worker bee system, there's a lot of classism before you even break that glass ceiling and start being up in the upper middle class and start making some real money within this down here, within this poverty, not just because of the trauma, but because of the conditioning of, like I said, you ain't a real nigga if you don't do this, and you know, and all of that mush that's in your brain keeps poor people poor, you know. And even for a person like myself who, you know, sometimes I am known to self-sabotage. I am, you know, I've mentioned on here before that I've thought about doing collabs and stuff like that. And there's been many times where there's been collabs that I've been able to come across or that have come to me that I have ignored, or I've purposely, you know, shied away from. And I know could have probably put me a little bit higher than I am now. But, you know, I have that nature about me where I say, and I'm pretty sure my ex can attest to this, where I say, no, I'd rather do it this way. And I know that sometimes that's what is keeping me in poverty. And it's something that I'm trying to get over. And I'm trying to just open myself up to let people who are in the creative space, or let people who are like-minded and want to grow in a way, or help me grow, allow them to help me do that. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I'll catch y'all next time. Bye-bye.